mëngjes.
Mirëmëngjes.
Çfarë ditë është sot?
Sot është dita që do shkojmë në dita e parë e iniciativës tonë të ardhurit në New York, që është samiti i transformimit të edukimit.
Me Diogenin që na shpjegon gjëra specifike që ai ka marrë për Asamblenë e Përgjithshme.
Janë dhe këto spilat, spinat, ka lloje emrash për t'i thënë këtu. Tani. Së pari kemi dy shipe krenare.
Përshëndetje, këto jemi ne mbas ditës tonë të parë, edhe pse me një kështu ritëm më pak, kemi arritur që të përfundojmë sukses. Kështu që e morëm si shenjë të mirë.
Nëse ju dukemi të lodhur është nga që jeni. Është në vërtet ditë e lodhshme, por morëm shumë edhe shpresojmë që edhe dita e dytë jetë po aq e mirë sa e parë.
Gjes, Diogen. Ja ku kemi një psikopat.
Hidhet qumshti. Hapi parë, hidhet qumshti.
Okej.
Hapi dytë, hidhet këto serial.
For the second day, which is the solution day of transforming education.
Yes, and we're going to talk exactly about solutions, how we can find the ways that we can solve the education crisis. And me and Eugenia are going to stay here and listen so we can have a chance to bring what we learn here in Albania and see how we can all transform education collectively.
Po shkojmë në ditën e tretë të samitit të edukimit, që është dita e liderëve. Jemi vetëm pak fare me vonesë, sepse trafiku ishte shumë i rënduar, janë rreth 50 krerë shtetësh që janë sot në këtë samit dhe gati 100 të tjerë që do bashkohen ditët të vazhdim në High Level Week në kulmin e Asamblesë së Përgjithshme.
We just listened to the solutions regarding the 5 thematics of the summit that are
Digital education, which is inclusive education, teaching for teachers, financing education, and also life skills.
Sapo mbaruan punimet e Komitetit të veçantë për 30 vjetorin e nënshkrimit të drejtave të personave që janë minoritet etnik, racor, lingvistik ose fetar. Ishte një komision shumë i veçantë, të thoja unë.
Sot ikëm ke GA, edhe sapo mbaruam aventurën tonë, dhe ndoqëm fjalimin e Rusisë, Indisë, dhe Suedis, dhe tani do t'ikim të ham trek dhe ndoshta finally të bëjmë pak turizëm në New York.
Ja ku jemi pra të dashur miq, duke shkuar te restoranti aziatik. Kemi ngel duke ju thonë vetëm mëngjes, po sot do shkojmë te ky takimi. Mirë mbrëma, mbaron takimin do shkojmë në shtëpi, nuk kemi treguar fare për aktivitetet e tjera të qefit që bëjmë. Ja ku gjetëm dhe restoran. Sot kemi pak të lirë, që do të thotë që mund shkojmë në Central Park, edhe në Times Square, edhe në vende të tjera turistike të New Yorkut, por pasi kemi ngrënë ushqim japonez. Njerëz të mirë, sapo do rritem në Times Square. Përshëndetje.
sot nuk është një ditë e bukur në New York City, po bie shi, po vinte shumë pak më parë, tani është pranueshëm. Dhe ne sot jemi regjistruar, do të ndjekim disa evente të tjera që nuk ndodhen në selinë qendrore të OKB-s, por që kanë gjithmonë në fokus këtë, pra agjendën e OKB-s edhe problemet e rinisë në shkallë globale.
Ja, të merr lekë, kjo është, ajo është shpreha të merr lekë të tjera. është literalisht.
Përshëndetje, është dita e 12 apo 13, nuk jam i sigurt, që ne jemi në New York. Sapo mbyll java e nivelit të lartë me gjithë krerët e shteteve apo delegacioneve që mbajtën qëndrimet e tyre. Sapo morëm vegjet e reja, unë mbarova, Ania akoma po e bën, të kjo zyra këtu. Që janë vegje që ne do i përdorim për komitetin e tretë, i cili nis vetëm për pak ditë, komitet në të cilin unë dhe Ania do të mbajmë edhe fjalimin e shumë pritur. Do t'ju updatojmë më vonë akoma, do t'ju azhërnojmë me lajmet e reja rreth fjalimit edhe rreth zhvillimeve të tjera që ndodhin në OKB. Ciao.
Ajo ndërtesa që shikoni më aty është Asamblea e Përgjithshme. Tu jemi për momentin në një si lounge të vogël, paka shumë, që ulen njerëzit kur është Asamblea e Përgjithshme. Dhe këtu është Këshilli i Sigurimit, por nuk mund të ikim dot afër për shkak se sot është në sesion, kështu që si shumë gjëra do ta shohim nga larg. Here with one of my great friends, Matt. He's a delegate of Malta.
Yes.
And I just want to ask you, Matt, two really simple questions that might be kind of complicated. What has been a highlight of the GA so far, and what has been one of your favorite moments with the delegates?
Okay, so highlight of the GA.
Or
High
your
level
New
week.
York tree, like.
High level week was a real highlight. High level and seeing, for example, some youth delegates giving their interventions at 3C. That was really fun.
Okay.
And then with the youth delegates, the EU Del session was really fun, and we've had some nights out. That was really good. And my experience as a whole, New York is crazy.
It is.
But it's been really nice getting to know some people, I guess. It's
Oh,
been really
thank
good.
you very much.
My favorite moment was having all of us as youth delegates having so many side events and discussing about important issues. Like one of the most, I think, favorite topics of mine was youth unemployment. I think that was a very interesting topic. And then my second favorite moment is having to get to know each youth delegate on a personal level, and we bonded so much.
Një gjë tjetër e rëndësishme që duhet ta ndajmë nga New Yorku është që nuk ka shans, nuk ka 1 minutë, nuk ka 30 sekonda që nuk kalojnë pa ngjuar një sirenë ambulance, policie ose zjarrtësi. S'ka shans fare.
Mom had book. I've had book to the kitchen. I've had book.
Sa ku jemi nisur të shkojmë te zyra qendrore të OKB-s, aty ku do të fillojnë punimet e komitetit të tretë, që është komiteti ku unë dhe Ania do mbajmë fjalën tonë.
Dhe sot kemi edhe një side event që organizohem. Bashkuara. Unë dhe do flasim për peace in generations. So how we can actually achieve peace and peace building.
Honorable Chairperson, that Namasabe enable them to live healthier and more productive lives, Cështjeve enable them to live healthier lives.
To the delegation of Albania, Honorable Chairperson, fellow delegates, it's with great honor that we address this committee as the Youth Delegates of Albania. Just as the world was beginning to build back better from the challenges that COVID-19 brought forward, we are facing a conflict that has unraveled our common determination of never again, with consequences not only felt in our region but throughout all the world. All wars are devastating, but none more than wars of choice that threaten a country's sovereignty, territorial integrity, and willfully cause harm to its civilians. Reinforcing Albania's stance on the Security Council, we strongly condemn the actions of the government of the Russian Federation and the unprovoked and unjustified attacks of its military. Our thoughts remain with the Ukrainian people, with the families of the victims, young people, and more than 300 children who have lost their lives, especially those faced with the atrocities of the Bucha massacre and the worst consequences of Russia's military attacks. Once again, we are reminded that in the face of conflict, young people and children remain powerless, often being relegated to the role of a victim, a bystander, and in its worst cases, a perpetrator of violence. That's why the role of young people should be recognized as a critical prerequisite to building sustainable peace. We call on the UN member states to center the youth peace and security agenda, emphasizing young people's agency and leadership through its priorities. Navigating the new post-pandemic reality while facing the consequences of violent conflicts and climate change has put young people in a very difficult mental position, yet mental health remains one of the most neglected areas of health. In general, the greatest barrier youth face in reaching out for help is the lack of accessible quality mental health services in schools and communities, leaving them in an isolated and vulnerable condition. Henceforth, we believe addressing the gaps present in service delivery through target investment policies will play a key role in promoting youth mental health and enable them to live healthier lives. Fellow delegates, while there is much to be done in regard to our common challenges, we must not forget to celebrate our progress too. Albania marked two important milestones regarding youth this year. Firstly, our capital, Tirana, started the implementation of the European Youth Capital 2022 awarded by the European Youth Forum. This title means that special funding has to be allocated in order to support initiatives coming from and for young people. More than 1,000 activities will be delivered until the end of the year, while skills and capacities are built for the years to come. The second important milestone would be drafting of the National Youth Strategy 2022-2029. While makes this process an achievement is not the final result per se, but rather the journey. 45 youth-oriented NGOs and more than 1,200 children and youth from 22 municipalities were able to give their contributions at writing the first draft, making this a youth strategy coming from youth and for youth.
Honorable Chair, the Secretary General's Transforming Education Summit, among other important takeouts, taught us that education should not be about learning facts, but rather the training of mind to think. A lesson that Albert Einstein called around 100 years ago, but the world chose not to follow. Taking advantage of the momentum that the summit created, the world must not make the same mistake twice. Albanian children and youth are pushing for this as well. As in a EU report questionnaire asked recently, 44% of them marked education and transition to employment as their biggest challenge, and 49% of them asked for contemporary curricula that are based on the needs of the labor market. This updated curriculum should be able to build digital, soft, and lifelong skills. Let's teach children and youth communication, including social justice and emotional learning. Let's teach children and youth political and democratic literacy. How do you write an official complaint? How do you start a petition? How many signatures do you need for it to work in your municipality? And how do you submit it? These knowledges would help to raise a new generation of active citizens that know how to use democracy processes in their interest. Let's teach children and youth media and information literacy so they can understand, evaluate, and correctly use the information found in books, TV, or social media, as this is crucial in the 21st century of fake news, misleading data, and biased propaganda. We all took all of the above for granted as something that you have to learn by yourself and learn later in life, only to find out that we were late to learn. These measurements require substantial increase on the investment in education. Honorable Chair, we are living in a time of interconnected and cascading challenges, challenges that we all face but we don't experience in the same way. We are also living in an extraordinary time full of vital and transformative movements that are all aspiring to the same vision, a vision of a world that is sustainable, peaceful, and inclusive. This better world requires much more than just coexistence. It needs ways for us to live cooperatively. So let's cooperate for the decade of transformation, the decade where we put humanity and our planet first. For all those whose humanity is constantly denied, for all those whose existence is ignored,
and for us, the children and young people, the moral compass of the present, who will be here in the future to live the consequences of decisions made way before we existed. Let this be not only our demand and our plea, but also our collective resolve. We thank you for your attention.
Kristi tha që videoja që kemi bërë në më parë nuk ishte fundi i ditës, dhe tani është fundi i ditës. Dhe ja, fytyra e Djegenit e thon me vërtet që është fundi i ditës.